Now, the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center is calling on government to involve more women in politics and peace building, a way of curbing violent extremism. They organized a conference on women, peace and security, where key issues about the operationalization of the aforementioned, as well as violent extremism and terrorism perpetrated by women and youth were raised. My colleague Judith Tando was at the conference and now reports.
The Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, as part of efforts to promote peace and security in West Africa and the Sahel, conducted a study on women and youth radicalization. Findings revealed some women were involved in violent extremism and terrorism, including the activities of Boko Haram. Interestingly, their research revealed most women involved themselves in terrorism as a result of brutality suffered under state agencies as well as other personal interests. Dr. Fifi Edu-Afo is Deputy Program Head of Peace Support Operations at KAIPTC.
The most pronounced one was the involvement of women in Boko Haram activities, and obviously because Boko Haram has over the years adopted a number of young girls. Some of these young girls have been radicalized to a point where they themselves have become extremists and went on to commit atrocities. And so on that score, we saw how, in the case of Boko Haram, the role of women were very pronounced. What in the research we term as a formidable tool or formidable propaganda tool for negotiation and rebellion against some of the struggles that they were engaging.
Director of CDD Nigeria, Idayat Hassan, however, believes involving young women in politics and peace building is the only way to curb the disturbing revelations.
I think one very important point I also like to highlight, which has been highlighted before, is that of the involvement of women in peacekeeping and also in peace building itself. And this is really a challenge when you look at the security forces who do not adequately include women in peacekeeping processes. In some countries, they are completely absent. In countries like Nigeria, until the last 6 years, women are not even allowed to train as actually combatants. And in the ongoing Boko Haram insurgency, just like 30 women were actually deployed, and of recent, just like 100 in the banditry region itself. And one thing that we may actually forget is the fact that even the exclusion of women in politics also hurts. Because when a woman is not on the table, how can that woman bring much to bear in terms of addressing or speaking for women, because she understands what women, young people, and the children actually faces.
Findings of the research also revealed violence among youth in these areas, as well as Burkina Faso, one of Ghana's closest neighbors. Dr. Edu-Afo explains this poses a major threat to our country's security, as there is a high possibility of a spillover effect, especially when there is already an uproar by the youth of Ghana over the state of the country's economy.
The issues that drive violent extremism in the Sahel are the same issues that will drive violent extremism in Ghana, issues around livelihood opportunities, lack of opportunities for the young people, the inability of the state to provide the necessary good that is supposed to provide for its citizens in terms of security, provision of social amenities. These are all things that drive violent extremism, and these things are very present in Ghana. And so if we do not deal with them, then there's a likelihood that, considering the threats around our borders and our neighboring countries, then that threat might reach our coast.
Dr. Edu-Afo further says military brutality is not the way to address the concerns of our youth.
Like I said in the presentation, I think, dealing with issues of violent extremism, oftentimes the challenge for most of these countries is to use the hard approach. Yes, use state security actors, brutalize people, force them to submit and all of this. But I am calling for more of a hybrid approach, right? What we call the whole of community or whole of security approach. And so the idea is that you should be able to use community actors, traditional authorities, youth leaders, women's leaders, our religious authorities, all of these different actors, because the reality is that they are on the ground. They live with the people. They know what the people do and what they are exposed to.
Judith Tando, JoyNews.